It's time for Hornets basketball on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network, and we've got double dipper action inside Turner Gymnasium on Alumni Day with both the women's and men's squads looking to protect their home floor. Matchup number one on your screen proves there's still hope for the fans of defense and low-scoring affairs as the Bridgewater Eagles, one of the best defensive squads in all the land, makes the trip to the Hill City with a 16-1 record to face a feisty Lynchburg Hornets team looking for a revenge after dropping a Wednesday afternoon contest right down the road in Randolph. Eagles and Hornets, and we're so glad you're joining us on this Saturday afternoon. Evan Gates alongside my very good friend Kyle Haney. We've seen very different additions on this Turner Gymnasium floor this season, but maybe not a better defensive team in the nation than Bridgewater.
So exciting to see the Bridgewater Eagles in action. They hold opponents to 29.5% from the field. That's good for second in the nation. Definitely backs up what you're saying, Evan. I'm really thrilled to watch this Bridgewater team. I'm excited to see how Lynchburg attacks that stout defense. Do you fight fire with fire? Do you try to play a lower tempo game? Do you try to get out and run a little bit more? Coach Allison Nichols will have some options at her disposal. She won't be afraid to use some of those.
And that's a great point because you might not see a bigger contrast of styles between any other teams in the ODAC. Lynchburg, a track meet style team where they want to run, they want to use transition. Bridgewater obviously slows things down, and Kyle, Bridgewater has won a game scoring 39 points this season, so you know that they're going to use that defense to open up offensive opportunities.
Yeah, that's something you can really hang your hat on if you're Bridgewater. They are 16-1. They've won 7 in a row. This is a squad that was projected, I think, 5th in the ODAC preseason poll. Well, right now they're sitting at the top of the standings, something they're going to feel real good about. Still more work to do. Bridgewater's got some really tough ones coming up on their schedule. So if you're the Eagles, you want to make sure you don't have a slip up here today against Lynchburg. Hornets come in at 6-9. Not the season they would have wanted, but I think still time for this Lynchburg squad to turn things around.
Lynchburg has dropped 3 straight. They've been in a gauntlet of their own, and you mentioned Bridgewater's upcoming schedule. Randolph-Macon on the slate in just 2 games, and that's the other undefeated in the ODAC. So a lot at stake. As we know, only 8 teams will make that ODAC tournament. Not 10 this year. There's no play-in round. It goes straight to the quarterfinals. And so Lynchburg right now in 10th place has some business to attend to as we'll take a look at some of the numbers in the pregame stats. Kyle, there are a lot of different numbers defensively that will stick out for Bridgewater. You see that 29.5% for opponent field goal percentage, but they do a lot of other things right as well.
They certainly do. Their offense really does not take a backseat to anybody. They've got several scoring threats that we're going to be talking about. Defensively, you know, Coach Allison Nichols said it's not really anything flashy. They just guard you tight in the half court. Bridgewater does not do a lot of full court pressure, but what they do so incredibly well. And the Eagles, I think they're going to present problems matchup-wise for everybody, but it will be a matchup problem today for Lynchburg to deal with some of the post size that Bridgewater is going to bring to the table.
Well, rebounds and turnovers have been the big gripe from Coach Allison Nichols throughout the season, and it's really starting to show up in those last few losses against Randolph especially. You see that last game. Understand this, Kyle. This is not a Hornets team that is by any stretch, we'll say, having a lack of experience or young. They've been around for a very long time, and they have certainly dealt with this position before, but they've got to figure it out sooner rather than later.
Sure, it's a Lynchburg team that, you know, some teams haven't found the identity yet. I think Lynchburg knows the kind of basketball team they want to be. I think the execution and the consistency is the next step for Lynchburg, and that can obviously be difficult, as we know. So many teams in basketball struggle with that at all levels. That's kind of the separator between the good teams and the great teams, right? But if this Lynchburg team can find some consistency shooting-wise, rebounding-wise, and taking care of the ball, a couple things you mentioned, I think success is just lurking right around the corner.
Well, a lot of pieces to that equation that have to be solved in the last few games of the season. We are quickly approaching February, and you understand the postseason is right around the corner. This Bridgewater team as well, we've talked about the stats on your screen. When you look at tempo and the efficiency ratings, they're in the 400s for Division III in tempo, which means they are truly one of the slowest teams in the nation. How does Lynchburg try to take a stab at that and play their own style of the game?
Yeah, I think that'll be the big decision for Coach Allison Nichols and her staff is, do we try to speed them up? Other teams have done that. That's obviously a common thing. Play the contrasting styles. Or again, do you try to fight fire with fire and settle in and say, well, maybe we can win a low-scoring game. Maybe if we have the ball last, we hit something late. That did not work out for Lynchburg the other night against Randolph. And that's another interesting point and a talking piece for us, Evan, is this is a bounce-back game for Lynchburg. They dropped a tough one on the road Wednesday to the crosstown rival Randolph Wildcats. So let's see how they do bounce back in their own gym. That should help.
A lot of question marks at stake. We're going to have a fun contest on the other side. We'll introduce you to some of the players to watch in the starting lineups here in Turner Gymnasium. 16-1 Bridgewater taking on the Hornets, who are trying to play spoiler in their home gym. We'll be right back on LHSN.
To them, the whole world looks like an opportunity, one to be seized, built upon, and made better for their sport and the people around it. To student athletes, every opportunity is a chance to change what could be and show the world what opportunity can do.
Think a private education is too expensive? Think again. At the University of Lynchburg, you can get a personalized education for the cost of a state school. If you're commuting and you get our top scholarships, you could pay much less. And you get all that without the hassle of giant lecture halls. Our faculty know your name here and do more than just teach. You might even do research together and plan out your next career moves.
Eagles and Hornets in Turner Gymnasium. Evan Gates and Kyle Haney walking you through this one as we take a look at some of the players to watch. For Bridgewater, look no further than Jaden Alsbury, two-time All-ODAC selection, who just seems to keep on getting better and better in her Bridgewater career. You see 12 points per game, just under 8 rebounds per game. She's a threat down low and truly a post player for Flamini's squad that has just been so impressive.
Fantastic player, and she gets a lot of stocks. That's a term that you hear in basketball now, and basically you're just talking about steals and blocks. Combine the stat together, they call it stocks, almost like the OPS in baseball, Evan. But she really can get so many of those because first the length at 6'3", 6'4", but she matches that with some speed too, and really does well using the long levers, the long arms, but doing it without fouling.
Sometimes it is a predictable style of play down low. That's what the best post players do. They can show you the toolbox and still find a way to get the project done. And it's a Lynchburg team that will have to find an answer. On their side, it's Audra Petty, the freshman who has been shooting the lights out of every gym she steps into, and a phenomenal start to this season. Over 40% from three-point range, and Petty, just one of those players where when everyone else has gone cold, you need one of those three shooters in the lineup. She's gotten 10 consecutive starts for the Hornets.
Yeah, really love what she has done. A first year from Randleman, North Carolina, just south of Greensboro, rather. Impressive from outside. We'll see how much she can impact this game today.
Starting lineups, pretty familiar faces on both squads. India Daly, Aylin Humphreys, Riley Corcoran, Jay Garcia, and Jaden Osbury in the mix for Bridgewater. And then Lynchburg, Olivia Harris, Kate Littlejohn, Audra Petty, Brooke Case, and Bree Spainhour. The same lineup we have seen 10 consecutive games, as we just touched on, as the Hornets immediately turning the ball over. And like we said, that's one of the parts of this game that they're going to have to improve if they want to stay in it versus Bridgewater.
A slower tempo team, a great defensive team like Bridgewater, you don't want to have any empty possessions. You probably can't erase all of them, but we'll see how much Lynchburg can get some quality looks at the basket.
A lot of patient possessions from this Bridgewater team. You see they will do a lot of cutting, and they definitely build a residence in the paint as Jay Garcia looks inside to her counterpart, Osbury. Clock ticking down, 3 on the shot clock. India Daly takes the mid-range off the mark, and Olivia Harris gets the rebound. Now pass down low. Nice vision from the guard from Salem. She gets the ball back for a straightaway 3 off the glass, off the rim, and into the hands of Daly.
Good exchange there for Lynchburg, though. They make Bridgewater work hard deep in the clock.
Both teams looking down low right away, but Osbury has it swiped away. The Hornets, despite a size disadvantage down low, certainly get their fair share of blocks. And they can use that perimeter style offensively, as here is Audra Petty. She can get the three-pointers, also some play in the paint, but this one's off the mark. Back and forth we go to start this ball game. No one finding the bucket yet, as Osbury looking down low, traveling violation, and the Hornets take over.
One thing to note, you saw the initial post defense from Bree Spainhour, and then Brooke Kaysen came over on Osbury's catch. So that's a sign of how Lynchburg is going to try to defend some of the low post play from Bridgewater. They'll send the second player over when it goes down in deep.
Brooke Kaysen in the last few games is receiving a lot of compliments for her IQ and just that feel for the game, as she takes a straightaway 3, second one of the game for the Hornets that clips the iron and out of bounds. It heads Bridgewater's way. Kyle, how important is it to have someone in the lineup who's not only going to have IQ and that veteran leadership, but also be playing over 30 minutes per game?
I think it's critical, and Brooke Kaysen, her work rate, her effort is so good. That allows her to play so much in these ball games, and she can be a Swiss Army knife, as he did try to defend the first bucket there, but Humphrey sends that one through, and now the tie is broken. Early Eagle lead.
It's been an interesting outlook for this Hornets squad. When you look at the lineup, it has certainly started to shorten up at this stage of the season. And against Randolph, 5 players with 31 or more minutes, one of them being Bree Spainhour, powering through the paint for 2.
Yeah, a little spin-o-rama there, counterclockwise into the dominant right hand. Great touch off the glass.
So Lynchburg going neck and neck with this Bridgewater squad early. Here's Daly. Pass over the top to Osbury. Had maybe the easiest look she'll get. Second opportunity from Humphreys. Can't connect on the three-pointer. And another traveling violation down low. Not going to get many of those against the Eagles.
No, they're so clean with the footwork, so disciplined. And you can tell they're just very comfortable operating in the paint. And it's not just the post players. The guards really get in there nicely and then look to make the little pocket passes, open the player up for the final easy look at the basket.
They've had so many nice passes down low. Both teams also 0 for 2 from 3 land to start this game. Bridgewater leads the conference and three-point shooting coming into this one. Shooting 29.7% from beyond the perimeter. So like you said, they are strong defensively, but they find those looks on offense that can make you pay.
And I would imagine that the dominant post play opens up the three-point shooting that much more. You're packed into the paint. When they do kick out, a lot more open looks from the perimeter.
Brilliant point, and you see it right away. Garcia and Osbury down low. They'll reverse on the blocks as it takes away deflection. Bridgewater ball under the basket, 6:35 here in this first quarter. If you're just joining us, Bridgewater coming off a big win versus EMU, 67-33. Team at 36 points in the paint. They never trailed. And then Lynchburg, a very different situation, going up against a Randolph team who has obviously struggled in the ODAC standings, still in that bottom half, but they get a big win and a very streaky game as well. Lynchburg went up big in that first quarter. Randolph had a 9-point lead at the half, and the Hornets closed in the fourth but couldn't handle business to get the W.
And that's one that I touched on it briefly in our pregame. It can really affect your psychology. How do you bounce back from a heartbreaking loss like that? We know Lynchburg's got tough players. I mean, the emotions are not in question for this unit. How about a closeout block from Littlejohn there?
A lot of acrobatics, and Olivia Harris fields the pass, maybe a little too far under the bucket. Great look from Kate Littlejohn. Wow, not a lot of transition in this game, but when it happens quickly. So does the shot from Riley Corcoran as she swishes it home, and Bridgewater up too early.
Yeah, interesting there by Corcoran. It looked like maybe Bridgewater was going to set up and run an offense, but she saw an opening and took it, and the Eagles take that lead back.
Riley Corcoran so strong for the Eagles. Another two-time All-ODAC selection, and led Bridgewater in scoring with 11.7 points per game last year as a pair of substitutions come in. Ashley Vandergriff steps in for Lynchburg. For Bridgewater, it's Alexis Edmonds and Jasmine Griffin, who is playing just her 4th game of the season, but she's had a lot of strong contributions so far.
Yeah, great spot by you. 2 sophomores in off the bench for Bridgewater.
Audra Petty, the team's leader in three-point percentage, also leading the conference, knocks it home. That stroke is just so sweet, and she's confident in taking those shots as well.
We had a great angle on that one, too. We might have known that was going in before she did. Lynchburg with their first lead of the young contest.
Pass outside. Great ball movement from Bridgewater as Jay Garcia tries to go downstairs. No can do. Maybe a second opportunity on the way as Alsbury fields a lot of space to a cutting Corcoran, and the foul is called. Quick passing, not a lot of dribbling from the Eagles, and that is an efficient approach as Corcoran heads to the stripe for 2.
Yeah, they really move the ball so well, and they do know when to dribble it, I feel like, Evan. It's a lot of the 1, 2, 3 dribble moves. You're never going to see anybody with it glued to their hand for a long time for Bridgewater. First free throw rolls off. I don't hate the foul from Bree Spainhour right there, though, because, you know, you want to send the presence in there. You want to make sure you have the lane filled, and you're trying to contest shots. Seems like the referees are letting them play a little bit, so not a terrible foul at all.
No easy buckets down low. You have to imagine that was a narrative from Coach Nichols coming into this game as Taylor Brown steps in for Bree Spainhour.
Yeah, and she's one that can be a physical paint protector kind of a player as well. Also in for Lynchburg, Ashley Vandergriff. She came in on that earlier substitution. She's another one in that talented junior class. She can fill it up from outside, a dangerous three-point shooter in her own right.
Another three-point shooter who is really one of those rhythm shooters. She comes into the game and she can provide a spark. Petty thought about it, now looking for penetration into the paint, off the glass. And this time it won't fall, but another opportunity where Lynchburg opens up the paint with that 3 shooting, almost the opposite of what Bridgewater does. Halsbury takes the mid-range, won't fall. Taylor Brown the rebound, but careless mistake from Lynchburg, and Coach Nichols saying, let's just slow this down. And it will be our first break of the contest. So far, even at 5 apiece, a little bit of transition and a lot of play down low. We'll be back to discuss more on the other side. You're watching the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network.
I'm so glad you
Back in Turner Gymnasium, Bridgewater basketball in a 5-5 ball game. Both teams trying to establish a rhythm, and as we touched on with that last game versus Randolph for Lynchburg, it was a big game for runs and streaks, and maybe they want to keep this one a little bit tighter throughout as Jay Garcia goes up. This time won't fall. Feels like the Eagles haven't gotten anything from the paint, but the second chance from beyond the perimeter, no good. Bridgewater starting to get those offensive boards, and this time the foul's caught on Brooke Kaysen. Third chance, and Jasmine Griffin will go to the free throw line for 2.
I think Bridgewater's already up to 5 offensive rebounds. If you look at the live stats, yeah, they just updated 9 total, 5 on the offensive side, and that foul is a direct result of it, Evan, because you're forced to play defense so much for Lynchburg. You're scrambling for the rebound, so you know you're going to be a little bit out of shape when they throw it back down to the low post again. Smart by Bridgewater to go there for just that reason.
How many passes have we already seen that have just been lasers down low? We'll see if it holds up, as Lynchburg fortunate to get away with neither of those free throws falling. This is a Bridgewater squad that has 5 players averaging 75% or higher from the stripe, so you don't want to give them easy opportunities down low. No bailouts, as Jay Garcia goes up, finally gets that shot to go. First points of the game for number 22 in black.
Yeah, tough look right there. Bridgewater not shooting it statistically very good right now at all. 2 for 13.
Here's Audra Penny. Another opportunity for the freshman who is looking so confident. And another one to put Lynchburg ahead.
Game-changing stroke, leading the conference in three-point shooting percentage statistically. And you're seeing why right there. I mean, that is just rock solid.
Every time she gets the ball from beyond the perimeter, you can tell she's keeping her feet square. It looks like it's going to be a comfortable approach, but even as a freshman, it's impressive to see the numbers she's putting up because other teams might not know about it yet. You don't have as much film from years prior, and she's just coming in and really making opponents pay.
And you and I talked pregame. Lynchburg's had that for the last 2 or 3 years where they have a player that has an outstanding three-point percentage that as the season goes on, they kind of become a known commodity a little bit more. You start getting some extra attention. That's pretty common in basketball, but just great to see Petty doing that this year for Lynchburg. And I don't know, her rhythm, like you said, is so good. Her tempo, she never seems to rush the stroke. So I'm not sure tighter defensive coverages are going to bother her as much as they would, say, another player.
It's such an interesting tool to be able to get in the paint as well, and she is so physical, just continues to power down low. And also, interesting note, Randleman High School graduate, the same as Taylor Gant last year, who graduated for the Hornets. So they're keeping that pipeline open, as it will be Lynchburg ball under the hoop. They reverse the call. 18 on the shot clock. Pass to Spainhour. Thought about it. Few dribbles. Looking inside. Survey will have to continue. Great defense from Jay Garcia down low. Hornets got to make a decision. Harris passes to Kaysen. Short corner. Trying to connect for 2. Off the mark. Second chance for Taylor Brown. And Lynchburg's first offensive board of the contest results in 2.
Good possession right there. Bree Spainhour didn't panic. I mean, she used up 4.9 of the 5-second count, but kept the possession alive, and then the offensive rebound down low.
Here's Jay Garcia for 3, knocks it in. Another one of those post players who can stroke it from 3, just under 37% from three-point land this season.
Yeah, junior from Harrisonburg, great inside-outside game. Looked very comfortable letting that one fly.
She has really continued to live in that elevated role with the Eagles, and we mentioned that front court of Jay Garcia and Jaden Alsbury. It has just been so critical for Bridgewater's success, and the reason that they're on that 7-game win streak, they've only dropped 1 this season.
So many teams now in the modern game want the lane clear. They want to do the 5-out motion offenses. I like the fact that Bridgewater is kind of old school. They're not afraid to go high and low post and get two in the lane there.
Look at the number of screens down low. Here's another example as Edmonds looks outside. Quick pass to Polston going up for her first points of the contest. Jaden Polston, the sophomore from Stevens City. Another cut.
Yeah, pop pass and keep it moving.
Maybe Lynchburg trying to give the Eagles a taste of their own medicine, but it's swiped away, and they might have numbers on the other side. Pass out to Griffin. Great penetration, better pump fake up and in, and it's a 5-point ball game.
Bridgewater with a little mini run here. Make sure you're really valuing the possession in the basketball the next couple times down the floor for Lynchburg. You should always be doing that, but elevated importance right now.
Hornets maybe thinking about a 2-for-1 here as Olivia Harris uses the double screen. Eagles see it the entire way through. Spainhour. Hornets trying to just defeat the brick wall in front of them as Spainhour goes outside. Somebody's got to shoot. Harris does for 3, clips the iron, and everybody on Bridgewater's bench vocal after that one.
Yeah, their fans have traveled well too. They got a good section of Turner filled.
Just about an hour and a half right outside Harrisonburg. Bridgewater, always a great fan base and a great program as Polston's shot from the free throw line is off the mark. Can Littlejohn corral the rebound? It will be off of the Eagles. So Lynchburg, maybe a chance for one final look. Kate Littlejohn is going to take a seat. Hard to see in that corner, but Kaysen is inbounding with 3 ticks left. Maybe a shot from half court. Petty takes her time, the dribble, and almost connecting, but well executed for Coach Nichols' squad. They're down 5 after the first period, but we've seen a lot of strong play, and both teams sticking true to that style, especially for Bridgewater powering down in the paint. We will be right back here on LHSN.
A lot of people go to the universities to find something to be a part of while getting their education. And when you come here, Lynchburg is that something, it becomes a family. It's what the school's really good at doing.
"65 years ago, Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve the way of life they work so hard to establish. Today, our insurance agents work to protect all Virginians, not just farmers. But the original promise remains. And when you have insurance with Virginia Farm Bureau, you're an important part of upholding it. So help keep Virginia, Virginia. Talk to your local Farm Bureau insurance agent today."
Lynchburg looking to rebound after 2 very tight losses in their last 2 times out against Shenandoah and Randolph, losing by just 5 combined points. And Kyle, there's been a pretty consistent theme in those 2 games.
Lynchburg has not been shooting free throws, and I don't mean shooting them well. I mean they just haven't had free throw opportunities. They got to the free throw line 3 times against Shenandoah, great block there, and just once against Randolph Wednesday. Lynchburg has attempted no free throws so far in this game against Bridgewater. That's multifactorial, Evan. That'll take us all game to unpack, but certainly something to keep an eye on.
Traveling violation from Spainhour, and you're exactly right, and we haven't seen any today. It is a product of Lynchburg's style, the passing and the perimeter play, but you got to get some of those freebies just to stay in ball games and especially establish a rhythm, because when it's open play and you're going 6 or 7 minutes without some of those breathers can really have an effect on a fast-playing team.
Exactly right, and as a coach, it makes you wonder, I mean, am I doing something wrong? Do the refs not like me?
We promise we're not trying to manifest the free throws either. We're not sitting here saying, oh, yeah, no free throws, and maybe this possession is it, right?
Yeah, I don't know that any fan goes to the game thinking, man, I want to see a bunch of free throws today, but it's definitely a part of basketball.
It's always stuck around. We've talked about the evolution of the three-pointer and so many different styles of play. Bridgewater is that old school, let's get to the paint style team, and there you go, Polston up and in for two. Good contributions off the bench and just a little spark of energy as well as they're up 7.
Yeah, they throw it in from the wing, and you're forced to defend so many different things that now the individual player can really go to work there in the post area, and Bridgewater very well executed that possession.
Even to start this game, Jay Garcia missed a few looks down low that could have gone in as Polston hits the hardwood for the rebound. We're starting to see Bridgewater find their footing as Corcoran reverses. Options at play as Alexis Edmonds now looks to Alsbury. Another play down low. Never settling for that jump shot.
Yeah, they're unbothered by the shot clock.
Well, 6 ticks and still reversing it on this offense. Corcoran finally fires and it goes in.
I mean, that's something that you should really be showing teams at all levels, just as far as how to work the ball inside and out, work it around, break the defense down, force them to defend very long in the clock, and openings should present themselves. Plus, they've got the skilled players to do it, too.
They have the shooters as well. 6 players shooting 40% or better on the squad, and that's not close in those percentages. A lot of them going into the 50s, and it is a product of a lot of those post moves as Kate Littlejohn returns for Casey Kelly. And here are the first free throws of the contest for the Lynchburg Hornets.
Yeah, good job by Olivia Harris to attack the basket for Lynchburg. And that's the general thought of how to get more free throws, is get the ball to the basket, and you should force the defense to foul you a little bit more. Yeah, you can get into the bonus situations as well, but with a defense like Bridgewater that is so rock solid and disciplined, I bet they don't find themselves committing more than 5 fouls in a quarter too often.
Not at all. And we talked with Coach Stephanie Flamini before the game, and we asked, why is this defense so successful? What's that mentality? And she says you almost have to love playing defense more than you love playing offense, because obviously being the second best team in the nation for holding points to right around 44 points per game, it's just a product of that energy, and you see it possession after possession. The bench gets involved, the 5 on the floor like it, and most of the times it results in a stop.
Yeah, Bridgewater rebounds so well too, so the other team's offenses don't get a lot of second chances.
Petty takes a heave off the mark. Littlejohn tried to take a swipe at it, finally does. Thought she had it clean, but it will be a foul. And Bridgewater takes over once again, first of the quarter for the Hornets with 6:45 to play.
Yeah, second for Littlejohn. That's not great. We're going to get to see Macy Mullins for the first time in place of Littlejohn. I love the energy and the activity there, and I think the referees have shown that they're going to let the gals play a little bit. So that's one I feel for Littlejohn a little bit, but I guess now you do have to adjust after picking up the second foul.
A lot of physicality in that game at Randolph on Wednesday. And once again, you're starting to see some of that play out here as Olivia Harris takes over. A lot of familiar looks from these starters, as we mentioned, all playing about 30 minutes per game now. Spainhour's off the mark from the free throw line. You wonder if Bridgewater and their elongated lineup will have a little more pep in their step, a little more energy down the stretch. Certainly looks like they're getting those transition looks now, as it's going to be 2 free throws for Jasmine Griffin. And Taylor Brown back in the contest for Spainhour.
Well, our game started with those ties. It felt like it was back and forth basketball, and Bridgewater has taken control now. It's a long, dry spell for Lynchburg offensively, and Bridgewater continues just to pound that painted area. It's really impressive to watch.
Time and time again, they live by their style of play, and it works out. As Lynchburg, as you just mentioned, scoreless in the last 6 minutes. Bridgewater on a 13-0 run. Was knotted up at 10. And now a little bit of a different picture as Lynchburg will have to fight back. Macy Mullins working from the corner. Trying to get the back door to Kaysen, well executed off the glass and in, and that's the Hornets team we're used to seeing offensively.
Yeah, that's a fantastic offensive possession. You take advantage of the defense's aggressiveness, run the backdoor cut, beautiful bounce pass, and then the finish.
Obviously, you can't telegraph at the collegiate level. I think you go back to rec league to talk about that. But the way that the communication goes for the Hornets, it's so impressive for a team that lives outside of the three-point line, just constantly finding the open look.
Yeah, have that balance there inside and out. Let me make a clarification, just because I'm thinking about it. Now, I say painted area and in the paint because that's the basketball term. But, of course, if you look at the court here, Wayne Prophet Court, our lane is actually unpainted. So
that's right.
I did just want to clarify for the fans that might be confused.
How many courts do you see that at, as Olivia Harris has an easy layup in that painted/unpainted area?
Yeah. 3-second lane, the key, there's different names for it, but I think most of the basketball fans know what we're talking about. Good little run developing here for Lynchburg. 4 in a row. Let's see if they can sustain.
Trying to quell the storm is Bridgewater. Looking down the baseline, it's another turnover as it's a backcourt violation. Oh, wow, Brooke Kaysen out of the blocks and looked like she had a chance to swipe it. And we've seen that time and time again. A lot of players on offense sometimes let that pass go and might not be the result you hope for.
Well, it's an interesting play. I like the effort from Brooke Kaysen there because if you can swipe that away, you probably got a clear layup rather than having to set up the offense. But either way, Lynchburg's going to get the ball. We've talked through the start of the media timeout, Evan, so let's just keep it here. What else is on your mind that we can dialogue about for these two squads?
Well, we've talked about these two squads. I want to pick your brain about the first men's volleyball game in Turner Gymnasium. You got a chance to call it. What were the vibes? What was the energy like?
Oh, the energy was fabulous. I mean, there's going to be only one time that we can say it's going to be their first game ever, and we saw it. Fans really showed up and showed out. The guys showed off a little bit. Didn't get the result they wanted against a good Virginia Wesleyan squad, but I think the sky's the limit, and I do think that the fans in the gym were appreciative of their efforts and the fact that it was the first game. So, yeah, incredible stuff. Still growing here, Lynchburg sports and the university in general. It's exciting to be a part of. As you know, we're going to add wrestling next year. It's a lot happening, man. I mean, it's Lynchburg's not standing pat. We're doubling down. We're raising here. And I think the ODAC as a conference is the same way. It's just really, I think, second to none athletically and academically.
Well, certainly one of the best in Division III, and we've always talked about the fact that it is constantly innovating. Wrestling will be a next year part of the picture for Lynchburg, but like you said, only one home debut. We had Tim LaDuca in the house. Shout out to the man who seems to do everything nowadays.
No doubt about it. Had to be part of that history, though.
A lot of fun as we're back in this contest. Lynchburg searching to find the answer. Down 9 against Bridgewater, a team that really plays slow. They can beat you scoring only 40 or 50 points, but they're starting to rack up some of these opportunities in transition or getting turnovers from the Hornets. And once again, it's going to be 2 free throws from number 15, Jasmine Griffin, who has found her way to the stripe very frequently. Free throws 5 and 6 on the way for number 15.
Not the after timeout result Allison Nichols would have wanted right there. After the backcourt violation from Bridgewater, that's your chance to really keep growing that momentum. It was a 4-0 little mini run for Lynchburg, but now that's been stalled out after Griffin cans both the free throws.
Bridgewater back up by double digits, and Olivia Harris looking to play into some of that Lynchburg tempo again. We'll see what this motion looks like as there's isolation for Taylor Brown down low, but no one can get her the ball. Now Kaysen searching, and there's the offensive foul. So another frustration play from Lynchburg. Thought they had that mismatch down low, but better defense from the Eagles.
It was, and that's another one that's difficult. Allison Nichols is talking to the referee right now. Both players were giving and getting right there, and you just have to know where the limit is, and sometimes that's very tough to find.
Jumper from the short corner, and Autumn Gentry found herself a little too wide open. As the pass goes to Kaysen. Definitely checks and balances, throughout the game. You understand those calls are going to go both ways, but it's about finding that physicality. And the first half for this Lynchburg team that runs so much, it can be difficult knowing how much is going to be allowed down low in those situations.
Yeah, and this time Lynchburg tries to lob it down low, and the foul is called on the defense. So that's why, as a coach, you bring it up when the referee goes by. You say, hey, she was getting fouled too before she committed the foul. And sometimes you do get one to go the other direction.
Just got to pop the thought in their mind.
That's right.
That's what the coaches will try to do as Brooke Kaysen takes a few dribbles. Great pass to Taylor Brown. Snuck that one in. But a rebound once again from Edmonds, and Bridgewater off and running. Oh, great move. Not much Audra Petty could do. And we're seeing Jasmine Griffin, the transfer from Indiana Wesleyan, really starting to take off in this ball game.
Yeah, speed on that rim run there. You're right. That's really difficult to stop. And again, when you're worried about all the other options, all of a sudden here comes a dribble drive that you're not expecting.
Olivia Harris takes a chance at a three off the mark. Jump ball as Taylor Brown and Jay Garcia, the pair of 22s, hit the hardwood, and it will remain Lynchburg basketball. 3:17 to go in the second quarter, and the shooting woes from beyond the perimeter really starting to stack up again for the Hornets, shooting just 25% from three, and that's really been the struggle they've been up against the last few games.
Yeah, and I think when do you go to plan B? That's part of the question too.
Spainhour misses a shot inside the paint. So difficult for a team that really boasts 5 players that can shoot the three-pointer on the court more often than not. Eagles maybe the other way. They have 5 players who are trying to get to the paint as Corcoran loves that mid-range, just a couple steps inside the three-point line.
Bridgewater's doing it everywhere. Now, again, you have to defend the paint, so the mid-range, long range is open. She does not miss.
Hornets down 15 here in the second quarter. It's been a slow but methodical run from the Eagles. Now Spainhour searching for options, and 5 seconds is called. So the first time she barely evaded trouble. Not this one. It's a whistle from the referee. Bridgewater will take over again.
Yeah, the Eagles, I mean, we had 3 ties early. Lynchburg did have a lead at one point in the first quarter, but it's felt dominant here in period number 2 for Bridgewater.
What's so impressive, we talked about how Bridgewater is second in the nation in scoring defense. They're allowing just under 45 points. Well, they're also second in field goal percentage defense, and that's at 29.5%. Those two stats aren't always going to be linked because you understand there are free throws thrown in there and other parts of the equations. You can tell with Bridgewater's defense, not only is it stifling and preventing opportunities, but they get the rebounds, they get off and running, and they just take your confidence away.
It's a complete package, and you're right, that snowball happens to where all of a sudden you start forcing, you start looking, trying to play differently, and then your confidence does continue to go down. So great point there mentioning the confidence. We get to see our first look at Kayla Sledge for Lynchburg, and that's a sign that Allison Nichols wants a little bit more post presence, a little bit more physicality. That's Sledge's game. She is strong and sturdy, doesn't mind banging a little bit, and she can do some scoring of her own.
That's a great way to put it because the physicality has been much needed, and Lynchburg in that Randolph game started the fourth quarter with 4 3-pointers to get that game tied, and Kayla Sledge was the one to put Lynchburg ahead as this three's off the mark from Petty. Also played lacrosse at Clover Hill High School. You can tell she is ready to go to war as this bucket just rolls out. Opportunities left and right for Lynchburg, still unable to capitalize, and the Eagles continue this free-flowing offense. Another one from Jay Garcia.
Well, when Bridgewater's shooting it well, you combine that with their defense, and what chance do you have? I mean, there's a reason why they're 16-1. Lynchburg is not going to give up, but we are seeing firsthand the Eagles are as formidable as their record would indicate.
What's so impressive is that it's not a very triumphant run, as once again, it's another call on the offensive side on Kayla Sledge. You know, it just feels like they don't necessarily take the steam out of the building in a solid minute or 2 minutes. It's just this long stretch, but it adds up.
Yeah, great point there. It is. It's not a quick barrage. It's just steady jabbing. They keep coming. They keep punching you. Lynchburg's turned it over 11 times, some a little bit more forced than others. but give the Eagles defense credit for the bulk of those turnovers.
Patience and persistence on one side and a little bit of pressure on the other, but Lynchburg can still try to crawl back into this contest, maybe a few points back here in this first half as Spainhour dishes up the court to Olivia Harris, finding the isolation to the rack, count it, and one for number 2. Olivia Harris quick with those steps. She has an opportunity for a three-point play.
That's what she can bring. She has burst. We've seen her take over games. I think you go back to the double overtime win against Randolph-Macon. I mean, Olivia Harris was unguardable for parts of that. She can do that. This could be a momentum piece here for Lynchburg. Late in the half, get on a little run, take some positive vibes into the locker room, leave a little bit of doubt as Bridgewater goes to their dressing room. This could be a really good 40-second sequence for Lynchburg.
Sayla Parker has entered the contest for the Hornets, and one of those defenders who is so difficult to get by, and maybe Coach Nichols saying, okay, let's lock down this possession. Jay Garcia thought about it, now has the lane to the paint, rattles around and out, and Spainhour heckled under the hoop. 20 seconds to go for the Hornets. We'll see if they hold for one final shot. Here is the freshman Parker, and traveling violation called, so Bridgewater's going to have one more opportunity.
Good defensive rotation last time around for Lynchburg. Going to have to do it again.
One final stand. Can Lynchburg get it done? 8-6 remaining as Corcoran gets a little bit of separation, kicks out to Daly. Tight defense from Parker. It may be a better shot, but it hits the back iron and out, and Lynchburg gets out of the half unscathed, but still down 16. It'll be a very tough climb to get back into this one against one of the best teams in the nation, a Bridgewater squad who's receiving votes at 16-1 on their record. We'll be back to take a look at some of that halftime stats and analysis, and a double dipper day here in Turner Gymnasium. You're watching the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network.
I was looking for a school that could provide me with the athletics, academics to pursue my career, a wind symphony to pursue my passion for music, and really have a nice general atmosphere. The professors here are really unique, their background and their passion for teaching. It's really a place where you can explore. Lynchburg gives you the opportunity to fail, but also get back up in that period of time and learn from your mistakes. I can make these mistakes within the school environment, but also with the support of other friends, and be ready for the real world when you graduate.
Every great college has a great city. For Lynchburg, we are near urban areas with lots of restaurants, shopping, and events. Plus, we are one of the top schools in the area. Come see for yourself.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. That's what you have here tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
My name is Brittany Coleman. I graduated in 2014, and I have a major in chemistry and a minor in secondary education. And I'm currently teaching chemistry and 7th grade science at a local combined school. Being able to have access to your professors pretty much anytime they're in their office is really helpful, especially in difficult science subjects. I love that I am able to teach a difficult subject to students who typically aren't going to perceive it as enjoyable. I'm able to present it in an interesting way because I was presented this information in an interesting way. It's nice for me to be able to mirror what it was that influenced me to be able to teach.
Sarah Watts, and I'm a computer science major. I chose to play softball at the University of Lynchburg because I came to friendlies and camps, and the team and the coaches were so welcoming, and after that, I knew this was the place for me. The University of Lynchburg has helped me achieve goals because through my classes, I do group projects, and I think that will prepare me for my job when I need to work with people. The person that has the most influence in my life would be my parents, because throughout my softball career, they have done nothing but support me. And when I have bad games, they always pick me up. And they're always the people that I go to for anything because they just know that they're always there for me. I like playing softball at the University of Lynchburg because the girls and the team, they're all super fun to be around, and they always welcome you, and they're always there if you need anything. And if you ever have any questions, they're the people that can answer them for you.
You have a great look. Let me just tell you that. I know you don't know me yet, but I want to work with you. I'll get a picture real quick.
He has no heart, no passion. He looks lost now. Yeah, thanks, man.
Just once more, and you came and you took control. You touched my very soul. You always show me that loving you is where it's at. You made me so.
I was looking for a school that could provide me with the athletics, academics to pursue my career, a wind symphony to pursue my passion for music, and really have a nice general atmosphere. The professors here are really unique, their background and their passion for teaching. It's really a place where you can explore. Lynchburg gives you the opportunity to fail, but also get back up in that period of time and learn from your mistakes. I can make these mistakes within the school environment, but also with the support of other friends, and be ready for the real world when you graduate.
Look what you're missing!
It really don't matter to me. I'm just happy to be here. I might go crazy.
When you come to the University of Lynchburg to earn a master's degree in athletic training, you'll spend time in the classroom, but you'll also spend a lot of time in our top-notch facilities, learning from athletic trainers and working closely with our student athletes. In the Graduate Cadaver Lab, you'll learn about the human body in the best way possible, by actually studying the human body. This will provide a foundation to make you a much better athletic trainer. In the Athletic Training Laboratory, you'll get hands-on experience, practicing your skills, applying concepts from the classroom, and working with faculty on research projects. It's also where our hydrotherapy facilities are. This space is also used by students for studying and practicing skills outside of class time. In the Sports Medicine Clinic in Turner Gymnasium, you'll work with student athletes from more than 20 NCAA Division III sports teams, helping get them back to practice and into the game as soon as possible. As an athletic training student, you're a big part of the success of our sports teams and the success of the local athletic teams. We see this relationship as a win-win situation. You learn, and that helps us win.
For the love of the game, That's what it's all about, they say. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team and the schools and communities we represent.
And for the many of us blessed with the strength to compete in sport at the college level, we understand that with what we were given comes a special obligation.
An obligation not merely to work towards a personal best in the classroom or in the sport we love, but rather an obligation to help those who have their own special needs and whose love for the game is no less intense.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. For Special Olympics athletes, victory belongs not only to those who first cross the line, but to all of those who compete and endure.
They are challenged in ways we cannot imagine. They are survivors who test themselves harder and with greater joy than we will ever know.
Since August of 2011, we and others from Division III campus communities have volunteered more than 250,000 hours, time away from the classroom and practice field, reaching across the country to coach and mentor Special Olympics athletes.
And to learn, as we all do, that in giving we receive so much more in return.
Sport ennobles us, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
Be part of it.
Get involved.
You can make a difference.
My name is Taylor Clark, and I graduated in the spring of 2019, and I was a math major, and I'm currently a processing and packaging supply chain leader at Frito-Lay here in Lynchburg. As a math major, I loved every single second being in the classroom. I would fight for those professors, my classmates. I learned and grew as a person being in that class and challenging myself more than I would have ever thought I could. A big part of my job is root cause analysis and being able to look at a problem and figure out why did this happen and how can we make sure that this doesn't happen again. So as a math major, you learn that you need to have fundamental truths before you make any other statement, make any other assumption. The reason why I chose Lynchburg, and it's the general consensus on campus, is the relationship you get to build with your professors. And that sense of community that you get where you and your peers all understand and know that the people who are trying to push me to be better also will support me through it all.
The biggest thing that I've taken from Westover is probably my interactions with faculty. I started working with Dr. Fryer. He's always available for help, and he makes sure that I get to do the experiments and not just be there while he does them. I didn't want to limit myself when I came here to just taking the prereqs for med school. I wanted to get a full, well-rounded education, and I definitely found that in the Westover program. It's given me the opportunity to keep playing soccer at a competitive level, but also it's given me the ability to be a student and to pursue other activities such as EMS. I 100% do Westover because it's not something they're going to regret, and it's going to be a lot of work, but so is everything else. It's just going to help build their education that they've already had and make them a better person for it.
The Lynchburg Hornets have yet to win a game when trailing at the half this season, and if it's going to change in this contest versus Bridgewater, there are going to have to be some steep changes. Down 16 against one of the best defensive teams in the nation, and obviously it's a team that has not only held the Hornets to 17 points and a half, but you look up and down their schedule, they've done this to opponents all season.
They really have. You look at Lynchburg's field goal percentage right now, it's at 28%. That's basically what Bridgewater has been holding opponents to in the entire season, in the entire ball games, 29.5%. So Lynchburg's slightly under that right now. There's some other statistical analysis. Bridgewater +5 in the rebounding margin. Evan, I still think we've got some things for Lynchburg to be hopeful about, but they will have to be really sharp. I mean, it's basically got to be A-plus basketball going forward.
Well, you look at the turnovers, 13 in that first half for the Hornets, and obviously that spells trouble, giving up 10 points off turnovers to this Bridgewater squad. And in that last Randolph game, Lynchburg allowed 17. And so that is one of the immediate changes. But again, how much do you attribute to Bridgewater's stifling defense? Because not only do you have to control offensively, but there are just some plays where Bridgewater's defense has been so good that there's really not much you can do as an offense.
Yeah, I give Bridgewater's defense the bulk of the credit. Now, yes, Lynchburg's had a few of those. I keep calling them the unforced errors. We saw, ball get thrown away in the backcourt. There was one of those. But for the most part, I mean, this Eagles defense deserves so much credit. They understand the game plan. They have the pieces to execute the game plan. Very unselfish, too. I know we've both touched on it a bit, but this Bridgewater team, they do not mind doing those unselfish things and putting the spotlight on a teammate. It's really fun to watch.
It's been a very fun style of play, as we saw with Randolph-Macon, another team that is very unselfish. They get their rhythm going. The two teams undefeated in the conference at 1-2. Washington and Lee right now sitting third at 7-1. And Mary Schleissner, someone we should at least talk about a few broadcasts this season. She has been incredible. She has a 3.5 rebound advantage over everyone else in the nation in that rebounding department. She's averaging over 18.
You and I had a fun exchange before the game about Mary Schleissner. You said, well, I was at Roanoke last weekend when Washington Lee was playing Roanoke. Just kind of popped my head in the gym, and you said, I knew she had over 20 rebounds. Well, we looked it up. She had 31. She had 31 points and 31 rebounds. Yeah, and she's that kind of player. I mean, really, it's Wilt Chamberlain numbers right now for her.
And it's so incredible because obviously, yes, reigning player of the year of the ODAC, but to do it perennially and to have that influence with a new coach at WNL, it's been pretty impressive. And we know this Bridgewater squad is a team that has beaten WNL this season pretty handedly. And now only 15 schools in the entire nation have one loss or zero. So Bridgewater is in that premier conversation. You have to imagine they'll see Randolph-Macon and WNL again this season as the first possession of the half falls into the hands of the Hornets. They will have to start moving quickly. Not exactly a sprint here in the second half, but that lead has to obviously become single digits first.
Yeah, got to take it one bite at a time, but you, again, don't want to have too many empty trips to the table as Little John has to tightrope the sideline to keep that one alive.
Brooke Kaysen thought about it. Now she fires. An offensive rebound goes the other way to Olivia Harris. Unfortunate for India Daly, who really just was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She picks up the personal first of the second half, and Lynchburg has the ball under the bucket.
And that's the athleticism of Harris there. She's kind of in a no-person's land, but her speed and quickness allow her to get to that long rebound.
And she will a lot of the times just tip the basketball and put it where it needs to be, one of those veteran moves. She's going to find Kaysen at the top. Reversal. Littlejohn ready to fire. Comfortable looking stroke, and that's the first three of the half for Lynchburg, who just went 2 for 11 in that first.
Yeah, fantastic start there. They get a turnover on defense and a second chance leading to 3 points within 13 now.
Bridgewater once again reversing their own. Littlejohn overcommits. Now Corcoran trying to get to the hoop. Reversals outside. Option, spin move, up and in. Riley Corcoran, rhythmic, like a melody. It has been very smooth sailing for Bridgewater offensively. Now back up to 15 on the scoreboard, 35 points. Spainhour, isolation down low, swatted away from Jay Garcia. Second chance loading, Olivia Harris outside. Hornets around the horn. Littlejohn falls and Bridgewater picks it up. Maybe a chance to move quickly. Now Daly, dish to Alsbury. Oh wow, had all the time and space, but it goes out of bounds. Hornets take over.
Yeah, she put both hands to her head. Alsbury's not going to miss from point blank range like that very often. those are the breaks that you need from time to time if you're Lynchburg and you're trying to spring the upset and then also trying to erase what is now a 15-point deficit.
Jaden Alsbury scored her 1,000th point at Bridgewater versus Roanoke. She's in her grad season. So interesting talking to Coach Stephanie Flamini, who did not get to coach Jaden in her first 2 seasons because it is just year number 3 for Coach Flamini, who was a former ODAC Coach of the Year at Guilford. And she really said it was sort of about rekindling the tool shed, finding a little bit of different options. And Alsbury is now truly a post player. She's not shooting threes. She's trying to get down low and really establish her presence, and it's worked well with this system for Coach Flamini.
No doubt. I think Alsbury's attempted 1 3 on the season according to the stats. Now, Jay Garcia will let it fly. And how about Olivia Harris flying up and in for a basket? Maybe she's ready to activate here in half number 2.
Acrobatic to reverse the angle and get it up and in. Still chipping away is this Lynchburg squad. Jaden Alsbury, one of those all-conference considerations, and it feels like coming back for a grad season was the right decision, as this team has found success. Aylin Humphreys finds her stroke to start the second half at 3 to the tally.
Yeah, working around the horn. Humphreys, another talented sophomore. Bridgewater, another one of those teams with a good mix. They've got some veterans, some seniors, and of course the grad student Alsbury, and then they've got some talented sophomores to go with them.
Just a very healthy bunch as Olivia Harris finds the short corner, trying to catch fire to start the second half, and Jay Garcia takes over. Here's that transition from Bridgewater we didn't necessarily expect, but they're finding options. And now Alsbury gets the pass to Daly, winds and fires, no good. Audra Petty now searching, back and forth we go. A little bit of a track meet as Spainauer searches for options, and Jay Garcia another block. 3rd of the game, and Riley Corcoran trying to pay on the other side. No one can hold the ball for more than 10 seconds. It stays with Bridgewater now, and Casey Kelly enters the contest for Lynchburg.
Great block on the one side there, rim protection, and then I love the hustle from Olivia Harris to sprint back and defend that baseline there. Couldn't collect the loose ball, but might get a steal right there. Yeah, nice job by Harris. You know, we probably don't give her defense as much credit as it deserves. She can be a willing defender, and we've already discussed her athleticism at length.
Certainly nifty on both sides of the ball, and she leads the team in offensive boards. I think Coach Nichols might have something to say with the fact that she is 5'9". You might want some of those bigs to get a heightened presence down low, but to your point, it shows that athleticism, and she's willing to go for those open looks. Now Lynchburg still down 18. Here is Harris. Fires for 3, doing a little bit of everything in this contest.
Yeah, she's really inserting herself into the narrative so much more. Where does the story end? I think if Lynchburg wants a satisfying ending, Olivia Harris will continue to have that main character energy.
First player in the game to reach double digits at 10. Now the Eagles probing. Back out to Humphreys, who has already really found her stroke from 3. She floats it in from the hook. Just a comfortable looking shot.
Yeah, that was nice. Shot it right over Harris, who's in the middle of the conversation again. But good ball penetration and a soft touch.
Here's penetration from Casey Kelly, who tried to keep this ball in bounds, but foot was on the line, and Bridgewater is almost looking to clean house. 4 substitutions. Kayla Sledge, winner for Lynchburg, but it'll have to happen after a media timeout. So Bridgewater still smooth sailing up 17. We'll be right back in the Hill City.
At Lynchburg, we don't fear change. We embrace it. In our students, on our campus, in our community, and around the world. We're building on our legacy of always moving forward. It's the same place, with a new name. Welcome to the University of Lynchburg.
My name is Jen.
Back in the Hill City, Lynchburg trails Bridgewater 42-25 affairs. We're going to take a look at our back pocket stat of the game. A very interesting find. If you look at this season, Lynchburg has played a game versus the reigning ODAC Player of the Week now 5 times, and it has been certainly playing everyone when they are playing their best, but the conference split that Player of the Week nomination into offensive and defensive sides. Jaden Alsbury, latest addition for Defensive Player of the Week, but it just highlights how strong this conference is.
The conference is so tough, and you could argue a little bit of bad luck in there for Lynchburg, having to play some of the teams that they have when they're catching them, when they're catching players that are quote-unquote on fire. But I wanted to get with the mathematics department to figure out what the actual chances of that are based on, like you said, an offensive and a defensive Player of the Week every week. And then I guess you'd have to, multiply or divide by the number of teams in the conference. I don't know how the math would work. I got to figure it out.
It's so tough, and it's not your usual suspects either. I think that's what's been so interesting about this Lynchburg season. Cabria Mutz, someone from Hollins, who I believe picked up her first nomination, got it early in the season, and well and behold, Lynchburg is playing them the next week. So you just never know. Obviously, Jaden Alsbury will receive that award a few times. You have to expect with her talents that it's no surprise. And the Eagles have put on that display today, up 17 and feeling comfortable about the result as it stands. Riley Corcoran heads to the stripe for 2.
Yeah, I think with Bridgewater, again, their team style of play, you almost don't think that's conducive to winning those ODAC Player of the Week awards, because you do have to have a really great stat line, obviously, typically every week. But Bridgewater's not short on talent, don't get me wrong, just interesting with the way they play. Very unselfish basketball. So many teams in the ODAC are like that, though. You could argue that point really about all these ball clubs, especially the successful ones.
Well, you wonder as well, because Bridgewater's receiving that Defensive Player of the Week more often than not. You wonder if the conference is taking into consideration, okay, this team is scoring maybe 20 or 30 fewer points than everyone else in the conference, but it's a product of that slow style of play, because maybe a shorter or smaller stat line has a bigger impact. You just never know. As the Eagles go up in the paint off the mark, another rebound. Mila Green picked it up for the Eagles, and they can set up shop again.
Lynchburg's still working hard here. I mean, Hornets are down 19, but don't fault the effort right now for the Hornets.
Gritty defense as Casey Kelly had to get up by Mila Green. Rainbows this one in.
I mean, end of the shot clock. What an effort there to shoot it over Casey Kelly, who, if you know anything about Lynchburg sports, you know she can jump. I mean, that's a tough visual to have her in your windshield and then still just lace it from that left wing.
If you have on your scouting report that she was an All-American in the triple jump, that might be all you need to understand the athleticism, because she is truly impressive. And one of those multi-sport athletes like Bree Spainhour, someone else on this Lynchburg team who plays in the volleyball season. Ashley Vandergrift will step back into the game for the hometown Hornets, trailing 47-25.
Well, and that's just back to the effort here for Lynchburg. They're still playing hard. I mean, Casey Kelly tried to not only close that out, I think she tried to block it. And Bridgewater is just a step or a half a step ahead, whatever the necessary amount is. Bridgewater's doing it today. They're up by 22, but again, expect Lynchburg to continue to fight.
You know, Kyle, some of those closeouts will really give you rough memories if you're a Lynchburg sports fan. You're thinking about that men's game versus Roanoke in the corner, and Jamarcus Brown, who is a state champion high jumper in high school, so another one who's got a lot of athleticism, tried to get up in the corner, and Maroons took the win. But I tell you, Lynchburg boasts not only a lot of athletes on this team, but it goes across those multiple sports, and I think Coach Nichols is glad to have them.
Yeah, at the D3 level, you're going to have to share some athletes and really have some people with a toolbox. You've used that word, a toolbox and a skill set that is really impressive. Things they did in high school, things they continue to do on this level. Foul on Olivia Harris there on the rebound. Her high school career well documented. 1,000-point scorer at Glenver in Salem. And, of course, the semifinals and the finals for the ODAC tournament are in Salem. So she would love to get back there. And Lynchburg, again, as we've said, will have some work to do in the standings, but I think it's a team that could get hot at the right time.
That is the positive about having the record Lynchburg has right now. They don't think that they've played their best ball yet, and maybe it is still in front of them, but you understand it's such a tough conference, and getting to Salem this year is that much tougher, knowing only 4 teams will play. And looking at the top of the conference right now, we've already mentioned 3, Bridgewater, Randolph-Macon, W&L. Oh, don't forget Shenandoah, who's maybe one of the best disciplined teams in the nation. There's just so much talent at this stage.
Well, and don't forget Lynchburg had Shenandoah on the ropes last weekend, lost to the Winchester version of the Hornets by 2. That's a game. Lynchburg, you know, you can say one play here or there, you can potentially win that game. They had some very close ones with Shenandoah last year. So it is a Lynchburg team that you know, you have to continue to stay positive and try to get better, and remember that basketball is a tournament sport. It's really the ultimate tournament sport.
Just 6 bench points in that game for Lynchburg against Shenandoah as well. So that consistency in the starting lineup is really starting to show up. It'll be interesting to see how Coach Nichols continues to tinker with it down the stretch, trying to get more bench players involved. Ashley Vandergrift, who is just guarding the ball, someone else who picks up a lot of minutes as this shot's off the mark. Second chance won't fall for the Eagles. A very close look, but heading the other way. Hornets just out of control.
Yeah, nobody's scored in a while here. It's basically a 2-minute dry spell according to the live stats for Lynchburg. It's longer than that. It's 4 minutes worth of no points for the Hornets. So that's kind of why I think you and I have kind of digressed a little bit and talked about the tournament some, because neither team has really been able to put the ball in the bottom of the bucket just yet, or lately, I should say.
That's right, and Bridgewater clearly just takes stabs at it now on a 7-0 run, and the blink of an eye after you can tell the fact they are so disciplined on their own pace, as this one is off the mark. Olivia Harris corrals. Maybe searching for a little extra tempo. Head down going to the hoop, and now Vandergrift looking to reverse. Here's Spainhour. Kicks to Harris, knocks down another 3. That left side of the court has been our best friend in this contest. Second 3 of the game for Harris.
Classic basketball there. Get the dribble, drive, go inside, then on the kick out, you find the open player whose defender has helped off a little bit on your drive. Perfect pocket pass, and Harris making the most.
Works smoothly. 5 seconds on the clock. Bridgewater deciding to fire, banks it in. And Lynchburg have been victims of that several times this season. Late quarter antics going the opponent's way. Bridgewater hits 50. They're ahead by 22, and we'll be back for the final 10 minutes of this contest between Bridgewater and Lynchburg.
I graduated in 2018, and I got my major in philosophy, political science, and I minored in human services. And career-wise, right now I work at a residential treatment center for juveniles with sexually reactive behaviors. I would say the biggest advantage is definitely that it is a small campus. You know, you get to have that one-on-one with your professors. They're willing to help you out. They're going to get to know you more than just a student that they're teaching. You know, they really invest into your lives. Definitely use every resource that you can kind of get at Lynchburg. There's tons of mentors within the professors, the faculty, the staff here, your peers that are here. You have so many options that you can take. There's so many classes, you know, even if it's not within your major, if there's a class you're interested in, take it. Kind of explore your options, because Lynchburg does have such a wide variety of different things that you can do. You know, be involved, become a well-rounded individual, because Lynchburg sets up the support to where you can do that here.
Ten more minutes of fun from Turner Gymnasium, but Lynchburg still trying to find their way back into the equation as Bridgewater has a commanding 22-point lead. Next up for these two opponents. Bridgewater will be playing at home versus Shenandoah on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Kyle, you mentioned it earlier, a very difficult schedule for the Eagles, playing Shenandoah, Randolph-Macon, and Guilford. And then Lynchburg will be right back here in Turner Gymnasium on Wednesday against Roanoke, a team that has a lot of history with this Lynchburg coaching staff.
Sure does. It's always a team that I think Lynchburg sports gets up to play, a bit of a rivalry game there. But yes, Allison Nichols, former head coach at Roanoke, and she coached her 2 assistant coaches there, Sayre Brandstatter and Whitney Hobson, who both played at Roanoke. Of course, Brandstatter played the final year of the career here last year. So some connections. Sometimes you need a roadmap to know them all, but it's fun. And of course, Allison Nichols got the further connection. She played her basketball at Bridgewater. Coach Nichols is really the queen of the ODAC. She's got a lot of schools covered. And the coaching staff at Bridgewater is actually similar on that note.
Well, you also look at Coach Flamini, a nice reversal down low from Olivia Harris, really starting to get her rhythm here in this fourth quarter. Coach Flamini, we mentioned, was 2-time ODAC Coach of the Year and 3 ODAC titles with Guilford. And that history goes back to other schools as well, meaning Farmington, Shippensburg, Westchester, and more. For Coach Allison Nichols, had her head coaching days at Randolph before coming here to Lynchburg, among other schools. And like you said, having the Brookville connection in high school, local to Lynchburg, it's just really cool in the ODAC to see so many connections, because it really doesn't feel like coaches stray for long. They either come back or go to a different school.
Well, it's fascinating to watch how coaches move and where they want to go, and good interception down there on the baseline by Bridgewater. Bridgewater with the black and the silver. I'm used to the maroon from the Eagles. I keep thinking I'm looking at a different team.
It is a very different look. Some clean jerseys. If you're a statistician, you don't need to remember Jaden Osbury's number, because she's doing something every single play. That 23 is up and in more often than not. The Hornets still trying to dig away, but Bridgewater has just been a step ahead, and Lynchburg right now, maybe the number to document as 20 turnovers.
Yeah, and again, how many of those are forced? How many are unforced? Not all turnovers created equal. Look at Harris.
Wow, off balance, still got an opening. So crafty with the basketball, and that's what you need, especially for this Lynchburg team that had a point guard situation to start the year. You're not sure who is going to be at the helm, as there's a nice move once again from Jasmine Griffin, putting her handprint on this ball game. But you're seeing Olivia Harris right now at the point. She trades it off with Kate Littlejohn, but it feels like both of them have just established more confidence as the season has gone on, and Lynchburg's needed it.
Yeah, I think so. Harris has 10 of her 15 here in the second half. We've still got 7 minutes in the fourth, so time to add to that. And really, again, I think with her skill set, she's somebody that can absolutely change a game, and she will be required to change some games in the second half of this season for Lynchburg.
Well, the Hornets, as it stands, not in that ODAC tournament. We mentioned it's shortened up to 8 teams. So right now, Randolph has the upper hand. There are 3 squads with a 3-5 record, as Bridgewater swishes home another. Jaden Osbury starting to show her impact.
Yeah, we got to give her more of the conversation. Again, we know how great she is around the rim. We know how great she is defensively and rebounding. But when she has that mid-range game, I mean, 15, 16, 17, it's almost unguardable because she can shoot over you at 6'3".
Not only does she have that post presence, but talked about it earlier, really the whole jump shot package, as Vandergrift lets this one fly. Now the Eagles have the other way.
Letty Michaels in the ball game for Lynchburg too, by the way. Evan, she's a solid sophomore, a great outside stroke, and a gym rat. That's a compliment if you're not familiar with the term.
Certainly a sharpshooter, but Bridgewater is one of their own, as Jasmine Griffin continues to catch fire. Griffin, the leading scorer for Bridgewater, and she is starting to use that three-point line as Harris all around the play. Griffin takes over.
21 for Griffin off the bench, by the way. No, 13. Excuse me, 13 for Griffin. Off the bench, though, and she is the leading scorer for Bridgewater.
To have double digits, especially with a team that does use that starting lineup frequently, like Jaden Alsbury, who hits the mid-range again.
Yeah, I mean, that's 3 she's canned from beyond 15 feet. That's fantastic.
The biggest compliment you can sometimes give is that someone makes the game of basketball look pretty easy, and when Jaden Alsbury is out there, the flow that she gets into is so impressive. We'll take our final break of the afternoon, and we'll be back. We can discuss Jaden Alsbury and more as Bridgewater having their way with Lynchburg. We'll be right back.
Everyone has a story. A triumph, a time they fell short, a gift, a light all their own. Every story has a beginning. For us, our stories began long before we got here. At the moment we discovered we had something to share with the world. But no matter where we've been, our journeys weave together at the University of Lynchburg. Since 1903, we've grown from a handful of students to a diverse, dynamic community of students, professors, staff.
Yeah.
Bridgewater taking over with 4:53 to play. A reminder that it is Alumni Day, and there's a men's game directly following this contest as the Hornets men's team takes on Washington and Lee, set for around 4:30. And the festivities really brewing here in the Hill City. Basketball going on, men's volleyball. Lacrosse has a scrimmage today on the road at Richmond, so that is quickly approaching. Just so much happening in the Hill City. You love to be a part of it, Kyle.
It is. There's an excitement and an energy. Kids are back on campus. That could be an energizing three-pointer, no good, but here's Kayla Terry in the ball game for Lynchburg.
Talk about energy. Kayla Terry will always be the one to hype you up, as it's Audra Petty this time who connects on a three.
Yeah, good second chance there. Nice job by Terry to get it, move it, hit the open player.
Now the Eagles spreading things out. Wings have been in full effect today. It is full flight for this Bridgewater team, trying to pick up win number 17. Just one loss this season. It was in a neutral site game as well. So on their record, they have yet to lose a home or away game, which at this stage of the season means you're doing something right.
Yeah, I think we know this is not a fluke for Bridgewater. You open up the year 7-8-1. Maybe people say, oh, you haven't played anybody. Bridgewater's played people. I mean, Bridgewater's beaten Washington and Lee. So we know this is legitimate.
Definitely some big-time performances, and last year an ODAC semifinalist, unable to get to that championship game, but big aspirations this year, and based on the current trend, they certainly have an opportunity to make some noise. Last year, played against Guilford, a double overtime victory where Jaden Alsbury had the program record, 26 rebounds in that contest, as it's a 2 right by the bucket for Rosie Pearson.
Yeah, Pearson's in the game for Bridgewater. So is first-year Angelina Yan. She's from Manassas, Virginia. So both coaches going to the resources here, the reinforcements. I think both coaches are still pretty keen on this last 3 minutes of basketball. There's going to be things that Allison Nichols wants and needs to see from her team going forward here, and you can learn a lot about your squad in one of these situations. I mean, look, it's a 30-point ball game. The players that can find a way to still stay sharp and play hard, those are the ones that you want to go to war with.
Well, how many chances do you get to go this deep into your bench at this stage of the season? Because conference games are always tight, and you always understand it's that point. You got to win these games. So it's good to see some of the depth on display for Lynchburg. Jay Garcia showing that post presence once again.
Yeah.
Believe they're now 4 in double figures. Sorry, Kyle.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Letty Michael, she'll drain one from about 17. Nice shot by the sophomore. But yeah, in this, to me anyway, and I think most coaches would agree, this is more valuable than what you see in practice because you are working against a different team. So you can learn a lot about a player in this stage. And hey, let's also factor, you can learn a lot about some of those players that are on the bench right now as they watch this. How do they respond? How engaged are they? How are they treating the teammates that are out there playing right now? Are they scrolling on their phones like we are? No, I'm kidding.
That's right.
But I think you get my point, though.
We need a camera up in the broadcast booth like you got the NBA guys just to hold people accountable.
Sure.
Now, what's interesting, though, I think that's a very great point you make about the bench and about that engagement, because the two stats that Coach Nichols has talked about this season are rebounds and turnovers, two of which I would argue are related to those hustle stats. And so when you're looking at energy, you're looking for momentum, these are the types of situations where you need to be energized. Yes, you're down 30, but there is still a very crucial part of this season right on your doorstep.
For sure. Darcy Ross comes up firing there, and a great shot. The assist from Letty Michael. So, I mean, there's a couple players right there that we've seen get more minutes in the past. You do something here, you could see your minutes increase in the future.
Darcy Ross in her senior season from Covington, Virginia. Back in high school, she was a volleyball, track and field, cross country, and basketball competitor. So check your boxes in that department as Mackenzie Brundage gives it off. Here's Terry looking for isolation outside to Allison Booth. Shot clock starting to wind down. We'll see what the Hornets can do to stay calibrated. Still no separation. Letty Michael's gonna have to fire and almost clips it in. She can make that shot. We mentioned one of the sharpshooters on this team, but this is gonna be one of those results Lynchburg will have to take on the chin and keep moving forward. It'll be 6-10 after this ball game and 2-4 in the home Turner Gymnasium. So improvements to be made for this Lynchburg team, but they understand the task ahead. And Kyle, like you said, maybe the hardest part of your schedule is behind you. Still a few tough opponents, but you've played a gauntlet so far if you're Lynchburg.
Sure have, and the real challenge, I think, for the coaching staff will be how do you keep the ladies moving forward? How do you keep the energy and the vibes high, as Terry nearly made one at the buzzer? But a great win for Bridgewater. Their momentum continues and no signs of stopping yet.
It feels like the train keeps on rolling, and Bridgewater, a team that will do it slow. They'll do it methodically, but so efficiently. And Coach Stephanie Flamini, you can't say enough praise for what she has done so far at Bridgewater since coming over from Guilford. Now 55-15 at Bridgewater, the native of King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. And then Coach Allison Nichols going to have some question marks moving forward. And we mentioned there are winnable games. There are some emotional games. You got that Roanoke one on the slate for next Wednesday. But Kyle, if you're talking to this team after this 4-game losing streak, what is that one bit of advice and insight heading into that stretch?
Yeah, I think just keep playing basketball. We know our brand of basketball if you're Lynchburg, so stick to that. Don't deviate from that, even though it's very easy to do that at this point in time. Like I said, I think, in my opinion, Lynchburg's got their identity. They know what they're good at. They know what they're not so good at. Try to play to the strength a little bit more and try to remember that we've got a team that can get hot come tournament time as well. Now, the other piece of that, Evan, is only 8 teams getting in the tournament this year. You got to be in that top 8. So plenty of work to do. It won't be easy. And back to what I was mentioning about the coaching staff, that's where the great coaches, I think, separate themselves, is what do you do? How do you lead your team when the chips are down? Everybody can move the chess pieces when things are going great. We'll see Allison Nichols. I think she's going to have some tough conversations, and I feel like this squad will have some good results going forward.
Well said, and she's done that in the past. 4th season with Lynchburg. You understand the assignment at this stage, but still certainly a lot of room to improve or maybe just to course correct and try to figure out that way forward. But Lynchburg will try to do it on Wednesday against Roanoke. That is a 7 p.m. start time. And then a reminder, Lynchburg's men's team tipping off against Washington and Lee around 4:30. Still so much to happen in the Hill City, and we're so fortunate that you tuned in for this one. 67-37 in favor of the Bridgewater Eagles, who are now 17-1. Big thanks to everybody involved in our broadcast and our director, Ethan Moratsky. He is Kyle Haney, and I'm Evan Gates saying so long from the Hill City.